What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Abandoned Auto. Now hang with me in this video. Some things are kind of out of order in how things actually worked, but plans changed, but we're still putting this video out because it's still relevant. It has been a minute, but if you guys have seen this channel before, you know this is my 1975 F-100. So out of all of the cars and trucks and stuff that I've had on this channel, this is the only one that I still have besides the motorcycle. So quick update, life update. My 79 F-150 has been sold. My dad's 79 F-350 has been sold. And the motorcycle that I had on this channel, I was in a wreck. Wasn't my fault, but I was in a wreck a few weeks ago. Bike was in the shop, it got fixed, and I have it back. But that's the life update. This truck though is the reason that I'm making this video. If you also notice, this truck has something on it that it didn't have before. This is a camper shell, and there's a specific reason why I got this camper shell. Here in about 2 days, I will be road tripping this truck, this 50-year-old truck, about 1,600 miles to New York. Going up there for a few months. I'm sorry about the wind, it is a little bit windy out here. But I'm going out there for about 3 months, and this truck is what's gonna get me there. So I got the camper shell because I plan on sleeping in the bed of this truck at my halfway point, which is right about Bowling Green, Kentucky. So that's why I've got that camper shell on there. This is gonna be a fun video. If you guys saw the Ranger video, I'll put a tag up if you haven't seen it. It's gonna be a similar thing, except for I won't be stopping at people's houses. I'm just gonna make one stop and I'm gonna sleep in the bed of this truck. So under the hood, things are gonna look a little bit different than before. We're gonna cut to the footage of me redoing this fuel system, and then we'll cut back to now. Now, if you guys are familiar with my channel, you've already seen the rebuild video of this, but since then I've had quite a bit of issues with vapor locking. I do have long tube headers on this truck. I've since wrapped the headers to try to keep the heat down. I've rerouted the fuel line from coming right next to the header up the block in front of the fan to the the fender, then the firewall, then back over to the carburetor. But this truck will start up and it has about 7.5 to 8 psi of fuel pressure, which is okay for this carburetor. Then once it gets hot, it slowly starts to drop down. Like I can drive this truck from here about 5 miles down the road, pull over, and it'll be pushing maybe 2 psi, and then if I sit there for a couple minutes, it'll drop off to 0. It's getting too hot. I have a temp gun that I've put on all my fuel lines and everything, and I've even tried to wrap the fuel pump down here with some header wrap, and that still didn't work either. So I have what I hope to be the solution. Ignore the mess up here. My sister has to do an oil change on her car, but this is what I have for my solution. So if my fuel pump is getting hot because it's sitting in the engine bay, this is my next plan. My plan is to mount this, because it's a pusher style fuel pump, back towards the fuel tank, away from all of this heat from the header. I'm also going to be running my fuel line on the outside of the frame rail up to either one of two options. Either into the inner fender and directly over to the carburetor, or down the back of the engine, down the transmission, and then over, somewhere along those lines. But I need to get it away from this header, and I need to take probably about 8 foot of this fuel line out of the engine bay so it stops getting hot. Also, there's a hard line up to that point right there. So that hard line's wrapped in a rubber hose, wrapped in Amazon's finest fuel line sleeve for heat, which didn't really do nothing, and header wrap. So I think it's just a matter of the pumps getting hot, the lines coming in go right under the gearbox inside the fuel or inside the frame rail. They're getting hot because the exhaust is right there, and now I've got 6 to 8 feet of fuel line in the engine bay with the hood closed, all getting hot, and it's not working out for this carburetor. So that's what I'm gonna be working on today. Today's challenge is to fix this fuel pressure issue. It's been driving flawlessly except for the vapor locking issue. So that's what I'm gonna work on today. I'm gonna pull my sister's car out of the garage, get this thing in there, and start working on rerouting all of the fuel lines and mounting the electric pump in the back. The truck is in the garage, sister's car's out in the driveway. I'm gonna give you a rundown real quick of what this part is. This is a Carter fuel pump. It is part P4070. I know it's backwards, I'm sorry. I was trying to figure out a good fuel pump for this truck. After reading a lot of reviews, the stuff that you pick up at AutoZone, even though it says Elbrock or Holley, they're really more meant for small engine stuff, their micro lineup and stuff. So I started doing some research. I didn't need a race fuel pump, and Carter started coming up, and I've been reading a lot of forums and reviews. This is supposed to be a really good fuel pump. Really the only complaint people have is it's noisy. I don't really care. The truck's loud. If people think I have a loud fuel pump, maybe they'll think the truck's fast or something. I don't really care. But this is just an electric fuel pump. It'll sit on the back, closer towards the fuel tank. I've been told these things run really well if you put a fuel filter before it. Like anything, they can clog up. That's kind of what I'm putting on as a Carter fuel pump. It's supposed to be rated, I think, for 4 to 7 PSI, which an Edelbrock's rated for no less than 2 PSI at wide open throttle. And supposed to be no more than, I think, 8 PSI, but a good average would be 5.5 to 6 PSI for an Edelbrock. So this is supposed to be perfect for that. So we're gonna go ahead and throw that on. So I don't know how well you guys can see it in the engine bay because it's pretty dark. Let me grab my flashlight. I don't know if that's helping or not. But my first thing is going to be, I'm going to leave the inside of the hard line for the fuel on the frame rail. I'm not taking any of that hard line out before the fuel pump, the mechanical pump that is, just because if I'm on the road and for whatever reason the electric pump decides to go out, instead of having to run a complete new fuel line, that setup's already going to be right there. I can just plumb back into my mechanical pump, which can help get me to wherever I need to go to fix everything else. If I take that hard line out all the way from the front to the back, then I'm going to be stuck rerouting all of my fuel lines to figure out how to get this mechanical pump going, or I'll be stuck with trying to figure out how to get the electrical pump going again. So that hard line's staying, but the rest of this line's coming out and it's going back towards the back. So that's what I'm gonna get started on. Also, my hands are still full of fiberglass. This header wrap has fiberglass in it, so this is gonna be fun. I've got gloves. We'll see if that helps a little bit, but I'm gonna put a time lapse on and get started. I know I've been talking a lot, but before I get started, I want to show you. This was on startup, has 10 PSI of fuel pressure. Once it gets hot, it starts dropping drastically. But there you can tell it does have good fuel pressure when it's cold, but when it's hot, it drops. So now, time lapse, and we'll get started. Every mechanic's friend right here, zip ties. All right, so far we've taken this hard line that I've wrapped, taken that off, completely disconnected the mechanical pump, so nothing coming out of that or going to it. So that cleans up all of that. This has been rerouted. I will clip that. But this has been rerouted down into the inner fender, which this is a below picture. So the inner fender down to the inside of the body mount, down to the outside of the frame rail. So that way I'm avoiding the headers, I'm avoiding any engine bay heat as much as possible. So from here, we're gonna go straight back to the back where the gas tank is. Also, my other idea was to go straight back down the transmission, but that's still really close to try to cut over where the exhaust and stuff is. So I'm trying to just go that way with it. If that doesn't work, then I'll go back down the transmission. But for now, this is kind of plan A, that'll be plan B. So let's see if plan A works first. Okay, we're at the back of the truck. That is where the fuel line ends up there, wherever that is. Yep, right up there. So what I'm gonna do is bring it back to right about here somewhere. This is right in front of the leaf spring. Right in here somewhere on the outside of the frame. That's where I'm gonna put the fuel filter, or the fuel pump. And then we're gonna run the fuel line back over here to the inside of the frame right there. And it'll go right back over to the stock location. And before it gets to the tank, I'm gonna put an inline filter. So that's what I'm working on. Okay, I will have to go to the store to get more fuel line, but in the meantime, I'm mounting this fuel pump. So what I've done is I've taken the bracket right here, put it up to where I want it. That's the wrong way. Put it up to where I want it. I'm gonna use one existing hole already, but that lines up with the top. Those line up with the bottom. I'm gonna drill those two out, and then we'll mount this fuel pump and get that all ready. Then I'll take some measurements for how much fuel line I need, and I'll go pick that up. All right, this is how we're looking so far. It's on there. I'm gonna go ahead and sand right here on both sides of the frame for the ground strap. And then I'm gonna get some measurements and go get some fuel line, come back, wire this into a switch on power supply, and plumb this all up and see if I can't get this going. I don't know how well you can see because the sun's shining through, but there's a stock fuel line to a fuel filter, runs, and I went over the frame instead of through it because if it moves, I don't want it to put a hole in the fuel line. So over the frame into the fuel pump, from the fuel pump outside the frame all the way up to that splice right there. That splice right here is eventually going to be a check valve. I just could not find one for a fuel line, so eventually this will be a check valve, but then it goes up outside by the body mount, up here into the engine bay, into the pressure gauge, into the carburetor. So now I'm going to wire it up and we'll see if it works. So what I did was I ran this wire right here. Let me take that back up. Ran that wire, had a multimeter. This wire, this green wire, blue wire, whatever that is, was hot whenever the key was on and whenever it was in the start position. So hook that to that. It's also no power at key off, so that should be getting 12 volts whenever I turn the truck on, and we should hear the fuel pump kick on. So we're in the truck, let's listen. I can hear it. So I'm gonna cycle the key a few times. And we're gonna start the truck to see, well actually I'm gonna go outside and see if there's any pressure on the gauge. We've got no pressure right now, but I'm gonna set up the tripod. I'm gonna crank it up, see if I can get it to run and pick up some fuel. Still hear it running. I'm gonna go check to see if we have any fuel in the fuel bowl or the fuel filter down below. Okay, so here's where I'm at. This is kind of confusing, but we're going with it. So I started it up. That didn't move at all. It's been running for about 10-15 minutes and has not moved at all. But the truck is running smoother than it ever has. And I took it around the block real quick. I've got power through the pedal, rolling into it, and flooring it. No stumbling, no hesitation, nothing. So I'm gonna let it sit here and get hot. It's currently 90 degrees outside. So I'm gonna close the hood, sit it in the driveway, let it idle. And I'm gonna take it around the block. I'm gonna take it up the street a couple miles to see if I have any bogging down. I'm going to my mom's house today. So it's about an hour and a half drive, hour drive. We'll see if there's any issues fueling related on the way there. But I don't know if the gauge just decided to take a crap or what's going on, because it's running better than it has, and yet the gauge reads that it has 0 PSI. But the pump is rated for this specific carburetor, an Edelbrock 1406. It's rated for the carburetor, so I don't know why that gauge is not working. I did get it on Amazon, so it could be that it's a junk gauge, but we'll see. We'll let it run. I do know I'm getting 12 volts. I've already tested that, so it's not low voltage or anything. The ground's good. The pump's running. The filter in the back doesn't have any bubbles sucking, anything like that. It's full. So we're just gonna let it run and we'll see what happens. So the only thing that's updated other than that was I took the gauge off because I think it was a faulty gauge. And also I unzip tied it from my heater lines or heater core lines because those are hot, obviously. So now it's just directly straight across. It's not touching these hot lines. But other than that, fuel system's the same. I went ahead and threw the 4-barrel intake on as well. That did kind of stop the rest of my issues. I wasn't having any more fuel delivery issues, no backfiring or anything, but I was still kind of having a hesitation whenever I would go through the pedal until I got higher RPMs. And what was happening was with my adapter, because I was running a stock intake with my 4-barrel and I was running an adapter. With that adapter, I was just putting too much gas and not enough air into this engine, and it was bogging down until it would kind of catch itself up in the higher RPMs. So since, like I said in the video before, I already had this intake, I went ahead and threw it on, and now it runs flawlessly. So I've went ahead and checked all of my fluids since all of this. Everything's good. I've checked the rear end, the transmission, oil, coolant, and power steering. Everything's good. I do have extras on hand. Now, I've gone through this truck just about in every situation, every single way I could think of. I road tripped this back home from college, 16 hours from Knoxville, Tennessee, back to Texas. And the only issues I had were some blow-by and cooling. And that's why I rebuilt the engine in this truck. There's a video of that. I'll put that up in the top corner as well. But that's the reason why I rebuilt the engine in this, was my rings were completely shot. So I put a re-ring kit in it, rebuilt it, and now I have a new aluminum radiator. So those are the two issues I had after driving 16 hours. So we're about to push it 21 hours over 2 days to see if I can get this truck to New York. So with this camper shell on, my game plan is I now have a air mattress meant specifically for a truck that's got the wheel wells cut out. I got the short bed version. Even though this is an 8-foot bed, I've got the toolbox in here. So instead of getting an 8-foot mattress, I just got the 6.5-foot one. It fits perfectly in here. The plan is whenever I do plan on stopping and sleeping for the night in Bowling Green, Kentucky, I'm gonna put this spare tire up there. All of my luggage is gonna go in the cab, lock the doors, and I'll put my air mattress in here and sleep in here for the night. You may be asking, you may have seen this truck in a couple of clips before. This is the newest edition that I just picked up. This is 2007 F-150. It's an XL extended cab, 4-wheel drive. It's got the 4.62 valve in it, 170,000 miles. I picked it up because it's got a misfire and a transmission leak. So my game plan with this thing is once I come back from New York, I'm gonna tackle this project, get it running, driving, back on the road like it's supposed to be. It's been sitting for about 2 years. And the game plan with this is to try to trade it for my dream car. My dream car, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, and I'm not gonna mention it again, just because I want it to be a surprise. I'm not sure if I have mentioned it, but if I haven't, this should be its own video. I probably won't do a video of fixing it because I believe the misfire is just injectors and the leak should be a gasket, so that shouldn't be difficult. I may throw up a quick video, but if I do trade it, I will be showing a video of this. So stay tuned for that. That should be another video coming probably in a few months when I get home. But that's kind of the story behind this truck. So let's get back to my F-100. You may have seen this spot in a couple of previous clips. This is from my F-150. That is the transmission leak that I was talking about. So that is not from this truck. That was already there, so ignore that. Now, you may be saying, Dean, how are you going to be in the bed of this truck sleeping comfortably how you're gonna charge your phone, all of that stuff. So I picked this up quite a few years ago actually, but this is just a giant power bank. It's got a plug on it and all that stuff. But the game plan is to have this sitting on probably the toolbox in the truck. I've got this fan right here. It should be plenty fine for what I need it for the one night that I'll be staying in the truck. And I've got a blanket I'll have with me too. But I anticipate it being warmer than cooler. So the game plan is to use this for kind of my setup since I don't have a power inverter or anything like that. All right, YouTube, we're about to hit the road. It's currently 7:15 in the morning. So my plan is to make it to Bowling Green, Kentucky-ish today. So about 12 hours driving. So we'll see what this thing can do. We're gonna get on the road and I'll update you guys as we go. Now my speedometer isn't completely accurate, so that means the odometer is not gonna be completely accurate, but this is our starting position. We've got almost 47,000 miles on the dash and we'll get going. Well, I don't know how well y'all will be able to hear me, but we're about 2 hours in, cruising about 70 miles an hour. The tech still looks good. So far, no issues. And I'll check in with you guys when we stop for gas. Well, we made it to our first stop. We've been traveling for right about 3.5 hours. Truck's been running great. Haven't really, like if we're cruising, it's probably like a third for the temperature gauge. So it's running pretty cool. As of right now, we've gone, I'll calculate it, I'll put it up on the screen, but we're gonna calculate the gas mileage. So I'll put the miles up on the screen and then I'll put how much gas I put in it. And then put your comments down below. Guess what fuel mileage we're getting. So this is a 302 with a 3-speed. It's got 325 rear end, and it's got 4-barrel carbon intake, long tubes, stock cam though, all that stuff. But guess what your comments are. I do have a camper shell, but our cruising speed's been about 70, maybe give or take a couple miles, but our cruising speed's been about 70. So drop your comments down below, guess, and I'll put it up on the screen. So as you can see on the screen, I'm averaging like 14 miles a gallon, which I calculated my average back home at 10 on the city. So running 70 miles an hour, getting 14 miles a gallon, I'm fine with that. So I'm pretty happy with that. We got gas, everything's good, everything looks great. I'll go ahead and check the fluids and everything, make sure that's all good, and we'll get back on the road. Right now we're a little over a quarter of the way to my stop for the night, so we have about a little over 3 hours down. We've got about 9 more to go, a little less than 9 more to go, so let's get them going. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you can hear me, but after 5 hours of driving, we're now in Arkansas. We're no longer in Texas. Still doing pretty good. Let's keep it going. Well, this has been my view. Nothing too exciting. I mean, beautiful weather, but a little hot. I've noticed that there's a lot of heat coming from the floor. I think that's because there's no grommet underneath the dash where the speedometer cable comes in. So I'm gonna have to fix that eventually, but other than that, temp gauge is still looking good. We're still cruising. We've got about 5 hours left until I'm at my stopping point for the night in Bowling Green. So we'll keep on going. Well, ladies and gentlemen, after much driving, going into Tennessee, we're leaving Arkansas, just crossing the Mississippi. There's Memphis. There's the Bass Pro Pyramid on our left. There's the Tennessee welcome sign. We've got about 3 hours and 50 minutes, so almost 4 hours left until we get Bowling Green. Everything still looks great, so we'll probably make one more stop for gas, and then we'll finish out the drive. All right, we have made it to Kentucky. Right now I'm sitting at the Welcome Center for Kentucky, as you can see. So this is where things get fun. I have a camper shell on this, and I said it was gonna come in handy. I have an air mattress. I'm sleeping in the bed of this truck. for the night, and then I'll pick up driving tomorrow. So I'm gonna go in, get cleaned up a little bit, set up the back, show you guys the back, and then I'm gonna get some sleep and we'll pick up tomorrow morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the back of the truck. Let me see if I can get you guys a better view. So this is what we're working with. Got the HEB tortilla blanket, bed mattress, air mattress, got a little fan, charger. This is my lock mechanism, so nobody can just open it. But yeah, this is where I'm sleeping for the night. I do have other precautions for safety, but this is where I'm sleeping for the night. So I'll see you guys in the morning and we'll get going from there. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's the next day. I survived sleeping in the bed of the truck. It's currently 7:30 in the morning. We're gonna hit the road. We've got a little less than 9 hours. I think it's about 630 miles left. So I checked the fluids on the truck. Everything seems to be doing good. Truck hasn't really given any issues right now, so we're just gonna start it up and get going. Well, I made it all of 10 minutes down the road, and now we're in standstill traffic on I-65. So we're just waiting to see what happens. From the looks of it, I don't know how far it goes, but been here for probably about 5 minutes sitting in traffic. Looks like there's a wreck up ahead or something, but just watching the temperature gauge, it's still in the cool, so we're doing good. Just keep going. You just barely see the wreck up there, but they're shutting down traffic to 1 lane from 3, so a little bit of traffic, but we'll see the other side pretty soon. Well, we're almost to the border of Ohio, and when I pulled off the exit, my brake pedal went to the floor. I pumped it up and it held, but I didn't check my brakes. I don't know what possibly could have happened because they were working fine and then they weren't. So we're gonna check that, just make sure nothing's getting hot or anything like that. Because the temperature gauge is fine, like everything else is fine. I'm gonna check the brake fluid, make sure we don't have a leak or anything like that, but that is definitely a concern. Well, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but we've got a wheel bearing that isn't too happy right now. So there's an AutoZone about a mile up the road, but this is what's causing my brake to drag. This is the only brake that's dragging. I think this is also causing my brakes to go out because I just called my uncle just to kind of confirm everything. But so this is the wheel, right? And now it's like this when I'm driving. Well, that's causing the caliper to spread open. There's a lot of motorcycles, but it's causing the caliper to spread open every time I hit my brake pedal. And I have to pump them up for it to do anything. But the weight of the vehicle on this caliper is causing this brake not to grab. So I don't think I have a proportioning valve or master cylinder issue. I didn't have any leaks or anything. I think this is the main culprit right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jack this wheel up. I'm gonna take it off. I'm gonna tighten that wheel bearing. I'm gonna inspect it and then I'll tighten it. And if it needs to be replaced, I know it needs grease at least. I'm gonna go over to AutoZone, get what I need, fix that, and hit the road again. But hopefully I do not have any other brake issues. It's just this right here that needs to be fixed. So I'm gonna jack this truck up. I don't have a stand with me, or I'd put you guys on the stand to do a time lapse, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this taken care of and move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the carnage. There is no outer bearing anymore. It's smoking hot too. So yeah, everything's super hot. I'm gonna see if I can't band-aid this to get a mile down the road to AutoZone so I can get an outer bearing and some grease, and we'll go from there. I think it's safe to say this bearing is no good. Hopefully the inner one's still fine. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been like 3 hours. I've finally gotten everything back together. We're gonna be stopping in about 45 minutes. There's an Advanced Auto Parts that has the nut that I need for the spindle. Even though the spindle threads are messed up, I mean, the nut has 0 threads on it, so the cotter pin is the only thing right now holding that front tire on. But we're gonna be stopping here in just a couple minutes too. Once we get about 5 to 6 miles down the road, whatever the next exit is, just to double check everything, make sure nothing's coming loose too quickly. And so I'm gonna check that, and then we'll keep going until I get to that Advanced Auto Parts. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have a new nut on there. This is the old one. I don't know how well you can see that. There are no threads inside that. Like, it literally just slides on. So the new one I put on, it's not cross-threaded, but if you remember, these were smashed. And so after running it back and forth with the impact a couple times, it kind of re-threaded itself, but now it's tight. I will still be replacing this spindle, but now there is no slop in it, and there are enough threads holding this together that I can confidently say that the cotter pin is not what's going to be holding this wheel on. So that makes me super happy. The play is out of it, so we're going to get this wheel back on. I'm going to check the other side just to make sure it's good to go, and then we'll get back on the road. Well, I don't know how well you can see or hear, but we're passing over into Ohio. I think this is Cincinnati right in front of us, but going through Ohio now. Feeling pretty good after I put that new spindle nut on there. We'll be stopping for the night here shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, it's day 3 of this road trip. We're somewhere in the middle of Ohio, I think right outside Lebanon. So we've got about 5 hours of driving left. I stopped for the night last night because it was getting late and just finished it out today, but we got about 5 hours. I'm not going to push the truck too hard because I don't really like that spindle as it is, but it is better than what it was. Before, the cotter pin was the only thing holding that whole driver's side together, but now we've got some threads, we've got a new nut, so I'm a lot more confident in it, but we're not going to push it very hard. So I'm going to get myself ready to go. I'm going to get back on the road. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've hit traffic once again. It is getting a little warm, so we'll keep an eye on it. Been in traffic for about 5-ish minutes. According to the good old map, it says we've got about 10 minutes of traffic, so we're just crawling right now. Sometimes it's at a standstill, but we're making progress. We'll just make sure that it doesn't skyrocket as long as it stays somewhat towards the middle. But I'll keep you guys posted. Sure enough, once we got moving, temp gauge came right back down, so we're good. Ladies and gentlemen, there's Pennsylvania. Making progress. I will say the view is a lot nicer up here. A lot more trees, a lot more hills. It's pretty flat in Texas. But we're almost to the New York state line. We're almost there. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to New York. We've got probably about 30-45 minutes until I'm at the place where I'm staying. And the truck's doing really good. I mean, there's a coolant temp. Still doing pretty good. I've checked the oil as we've gone, and the oil's been great. So that spindle's still holding together. So we're doing pretty good. We're almost there. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have successfully made it to New York. So the whole trip was right about 1,600 miles over the span of 3 days. We had some issues, but overall, everything was pretty good. I will be replacing this spindle eventually. I probably won't do a video on it because it's just the spindle, but as of now, it's all tight. It's still somewhat safe to drive, but I have checked it. It is still tight. So now we know this thing will make it after the rebuild. The engine performed great. There was no issues, no blow-by. It didn't look like it burned or smoked or anything like that for the oil. Coolant was still good. Never really overheated. The one time it got really above half, we were sitting in traffic for quite a while, but as soon as we started moving, it was great again. So that was 21 hours on the road for this thing, and it performed really well. Sleeping in the bed of this truck wasn't necessarily the most uncomfortable, and it definitely was not the most comfortable. A little bit more airflow would be nice. These side windows are supposed to open, but they don't, but that is what it is. But overall, it was a good trip. I really enjoyed it, really had a lot of fun. So yes, this 50-year-old truck made it. Now, what can we expect in the future? I'm not really sure if I'll do any videos while I'm here in New York. I may pick up a project. I don't know. I'm only here for 3 months, so it's probably not worth picking up a project because then I got to figure out how to take it back to Texas or sell it and worry about trying to sell it before I go. So I might not pick up a project, but if something comes up, we will see. But we're getting about 14-ish miles a gallon, which isn't terrible in this thing. I know the camper shell and my speed really affected that, but that's still not awful for what this is and how I was treating it. So if you did like this video, go ahead and comment down below what you liked about it, maybe what you want to see with the truck. Go check out my other videos, like, subscribe, share with your friends. Like I said, I'm not a mechanic, I'm not a YouTuber, I don't put a lot of videos out, but I do have some videos on my channel. So if you're interested in old content like this, old cars and trucks, go check it out. I'll see you guys next time on Abandoned Auto.